All right, folks, welcome to the show. We are, I guess, winding the year down, and we've got a great show planned for you. We're going to be talking about the top political stories of 2025 today. A lot has happened this year, and some of the stories that are on your mind that, stand out might not be the same one. So feel free, wherever you're watching this, sound off in the comments about the data points, the big significant data points that stand out to you about what's going on. Really, most of the, we're talking, for the most part, American domestic politics, although I think you have to throw the 12-day Iran war in there. You also have to probably throw in the Ukraine-Russia peace negotiations, specifically that moment in the White House where J.D. Vance finally said what we were all thinking to Zelensky about being an ungrateful dictator. Oh, he didn't call him a dictator, but you get the point. So we're going to do that. We're going to give you a little update on what's going on with the Minnesota Somalia scandal as well. My co-host Rob Spencer will be joining us momentarily. He's running just a little bit behind, but let's just get right into it. The show starts now.
The Paul Harrell Program.
All right, folks, let's see here. First of all, I guess this is the last program of the year. This is the last show of 2025. So we'll be back here on Monday. What exactly is that date? So January... What is it exactly? Hang on a second. Well, I don't even know. It's the 30th, March the 31st, and it's the 1st. Anyway, we'll see you the first week in January. How about that? My calendar's not working. So I guess what I should do is wish everybody a Happy New Year. We really appreciate it. We appreciate you guys listening to this program, and we would appreciate, again, if you like, share, subscribe. Do all of the things, whether you're watching on Rumble or X American News on X or Facebook. And if you're watching on cable through the air, well, maybe go online and support us there. We would really very much appreciate it. So let me give you a quick update before we get to our top stories of 2025. I'm going to give you a quick update on what's going on with the Minnesota Somalia thing. A friend of the show, Derek Evans from West Virginia, J6er, also running for Congress in West Virginia. He says, breaking, the infamous Quality Learning Center in Minnesota just fixed their sign after going viral for allegedly defrauding taxpayers. And there you see they've got some sort of patchwork, some sort of patch that they've put over there because obviously the virality of it all, of Nick Shirley's reporting, is quite embarrassing. Rob and I were talking the other day, yesterday's show, in fact, about how there is obviously this propensity of people on the left to just, they're trying to say that this isn't a scandal at all, even though we now have new videos, by the way. There are new videos that I saw where they have been, there are videos of Somali immigrants fake dropping their kids off at daycares to pretend that they're dropping, that the daycares are legitimate. And I understand the owner of this particular institution, the Quality Learning Center, that's now been renamed the Quality Learning Center. Rob's like, I can hear Rob laughing. It's been now renamed the Quality Learning Center, finally. He's come out and confronted journalists and other people with video cameras saying, that it's a perfectly legitimate business. In the meantime, Catherine Herridge is reporting that the FBI is actually doing something. And again, not going to hold my breath, but we'll see. I will say it's incredible that you have, establishment Republican, people like Tom Emmer calling for denaturalization. I've just, in terms of rhetoric, that's significant. Although will it amount to any sort of policy? Or, when President Trump talked about re-immigration, how we have to re-immigrate these people out of the country. And many of these Somalis are here legally. They are here legally, and many of them are voting. So that's the first update. The second update is this. I was watching a really good clip of Clayton Morris over at Redacted last night, where he was interviewing a former CIA guy, just talking about how corrupt the CIA is, talking about how CIA basically controls everything. They control Congress, but specifically they had a whole portion. Welcome to the show, by the way, Rob. You're on camera.
Hey, glad to be here.
Oh, yeah, let me turn your mic on. But they had a whole section where this CIA whistleblower was essentially saying, look, that not only do they control Congress, they control the judiciary branch, which kind of goes to kind of some of my black pill moments about, I certainly expect mass arrests or, deep state arrests, but then you look at the courts and you're just like, but even if they did it, the courts are controlled and have been infiltrated as well to be against the American people in so many ways. So a guy by the name of Dustin Grage reports that there's a Minnesota senator named Michael Holstrom, a Republican, who is calling on Hennepin County Judge Sarah West to unseal the documents in the case where she overturned a jury's guilty verdict. It had to do with somebody by the name of Abdel Yusuf, who was found guilty of stealing $7.2 million from taxpayers in the Medicaid fraud scheme. What's interesting about this letter is, I'll just read some of it. He says, I'm writing you regarding a case recently before you, the state of Minnesota versus Abi Tafata. The case represents a matter of the highest public concern as it relates to allegations of fraud in our public welfare programs. And then he says, to that end, I recently attempted to obtain exhibit number 79 that appears to have been presented in open court as part of the trial that the jury convicted this person of with the fraud. Of course, the judge overturned the conviction. The exhibit was referenced in your order dismissing the case. The courthouse notified me that the exhibit was under seal and that I would need to contact you in your chambers to obtain it. I cannot imagine a situation where a document presented in open court that was used to convict somebody could later be sealed from the public. The First Amendment and common law have long protected the right for the public to access court records. So I say all that to say, and we're going to talk about this in the grand scheme of things, Rob, when it comes to the top stories of 2025, this is going to be a recurring thread here.
Sure.
So much of the reform and the accountability that we want to see, our institutions, the sad truth is, our institutions, even if you had people in the executive to do it, the institutions themselves are probably so corrupt that there's nothing that can be done.
There's so much shielding going on. Even in Minnesota, when they came out and they said, "Oh, we were in one of these daycares 3 weeks ago, and there was there were children there," and I'm like, nobody believes that. Nobody believes it. And the reason that we don't believe it is because this fraud, why are all these businesses, we talked about this yesterday on the show, why are all these businesses under the same building, and they're similar businesses, and they all have Somalian owners, and you go and look at the Google reviews, and it's like one Somalian owner will go and leave a review on a different Somalian owner of a business, like their review, like you can't, they are not mincing any words in. And somebody brought up like, hey, have you ever seen, excuse me, have you ever seen a daycare with one Google review that has been open for 8 years? No, it doesn't exist, because there are people that will go on there and be like, hey, I love this place. My kid loves this place, all this stuff.
Well, yeah, somebody made a post. I saw that about, how daycares are in high demand, and there's so many, Americans that utilize daycare so they can have, so they can go to work, and how
there's always a shortage.
Yeah, and how even more outrageous it is that all this money is being spent on nothing, where there are, average Americans that could have actually used that money to actually open legitimate daycares to serve communities.
Oh, 100%.
I mean,
yeah, and so what they're saying is, oh yes, this is you're this is a nothing burger, right? Because we've been investigating that stuff, and I'm like, I don't believe all three of our children were adopted out of DHS, like out of from the state of Arkansas. All three of our children were adopted, and there were some great people that worked there, but there was so much red tape and frustration with some of this stuff. And our youngest daughter had no business going back with the birth parent who could not take care of them physically, mentally, all of that. The birth parents had a mind of a 2-year-old. I'm not a 2-year-old, a second grader. I'm not going to go into great detail about that, but our youngest child, when we were just fostering her, would have died had she gone home. And the reason that she almost went home was due to lack of oversight on this stuff. These people are overworked, they're underpaid, they work for these government agencies, and they're charged with this oversight. So you want to sit here and tell me that Minnesota, which is a 60-40 state, I mean, it's a purple state, and has a significant amount of liberal leadership in government positions.
Everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me, and they're all like, you're going against our Somalian community, and we just love our Somalian community. And I'm sitting there, what good have they provided for you other than leeching off this system, which it seems as if all of them are? Now, somebody would say that's a strong statement to say all. I don't care.
Yeah, at this point.
I'm in Arkansas. What do I care?
That's exactly right.
But I will say this. I don't believe for a second that these government agencies are giving oversight to these Somalian daycares. Mm-hmm. They say we went in there, we've inspected it. Bullshit. I don't believe it. Sorry, TV audience. I'm so sorry, folks. I say BS. They are not going in to these businesses and doing oversight. They are checking a list. Yep. We were there on such and such day. We were there on such and such day. That's the same crap that we deal with these DHS, whatever you want to call it, Department of Children and Family Services. That's the same stuff that we deal with. These people are overworked, they're underpaid, and the leftist ideology would not allow them to go in there and lay the hammer down on these people anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then the courts, if they do, then you've got a judge that just overturns the decision. Yeah. So it's insane. I mean, it's absolutely insane.
A jury of their peers.
This should be a slam dunk case because all of the money. This is not like a drug business. I mean, at some point it might get laundered in some way and turned into cash. I'm sure it does. But just in terms of following the money and the electronic transfers between the federal government or the state government and these things, it's easy. I mean, the FBI has access to literally every little bit of minutia.
Sure.
So it's really just a matter of will and putting these people in jail, and then you have to worry about the courts because, again, the courts are... I'm telling you, man.
Yeah.
That segment I watched, it was a redacted segment with Clayton Morris interviewing this CIA guy. And it was crazy the amount of knowledge he has of just how captured every government, every branch of our government is by the CIA.
Let me throw this out at you, Paul. So the day after all of this blew up over the weekend when Nick Shirley's reporting there, and a day after that, which was yesterday, Monday. What do we see? We're seeing the videos coming out today, and it is all of these people, escorting their children into this learning center, and you're just like, wait a minute, how convenient are these people? And so you say, oh well, you won't believe anything, you won't believe your lying eyes and all of that stuff. But I can tell you this: there was a conference call, like folks. The jig is up.
Yep, they sent out the postman or whatever, the Pony Express.
That's right.
It's like, and so rally the troops.
They told them, like, hey, everybody bring your kids. Everybody do all this stuff. Because I can tell you this, Paul, if a local daycare in our community was being investigated for fraud, do you think those parents would be taking their kid the very next day? Would those parents be taking their kids, or are they going to kind of see how it plays out?
Yeah.
They're probably going to have to see how it plays out.
That's exactly right.
They'd send those kids to grandma. Grandma's going to have to, hey, I got to work. I got to work. You're gonna have to watch them today because there's some stuff going on with this
Shady
company.
stuff.
I don't know about this stuff. I don't know about it. Mm-hmm. No,
No, I think you're right.
no. The parking lots were full for the first time in years, according to one report.
Yeah.
Years. They've said I've been
that's-
close by for 8 years. I've never seen.
That's panicking. That's what that is. That's literally. I mean, these people are panicking. They
It's-
know the jig is up, and
Yeah.
they don't want to get. They don't want to get denaturalized
Sure.
and deported.
Well, it's like you hear your boss is about to fire you, and that's that's going to be the most productive work day you've ever had.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
know,
That's
right?
true. So, all right, let's get to it. Top 20
Wow.
or top stories. I guess we could have
What
done
a
top
year.
25 stories, but
What
we
a
don't-
year.
I'm not doing that. Top stories of 2025. There's a lot we're going to miss. I know we're going to leave out. I kind of made a list just on my own. Like, okay, what do I think? I think we can start. We can try to do this chronologically. Okay. Mm-hmm. I would say the first one would be President Trump returning to office against what would have been just an improbable in 2020. I mean, they said he was done.
Yeah.
That has to be okay. January 20th. That was a huge
When he takes
story.
office.
He's back in office.
It's the greatest political comeback in American history.
Yeah.
And now we weren't alive for all of American history, but I can tell you, I can't imagine, considering all that he had thrown at him after January 6, 2021, that there was anything more improbable. This dude is the first. We just elected a felon, convicted felon. When you look through the terms of it, and when he was elected, a convicted felon. Now we can go through all that crap that happened in 2024.
well, yeah. I mean, that's
the lawfare.
Yeah, the lawfare that is not being deployed, that is not being successfully deployed against his own political opponents that did it to him.
And
Which,
should have been rightfully. And like you're worried about money that he paid to a porn star. I don't care about that. I care about a governor, a senator, a state senator, all of these states. The fraud get into California. You want to talk about some fraud? Get into California. And all of that stuff is happening, and it's a systemic.
Yeah.
Versus just Donald Trump wrote a check to a porn star so she wouldn't talk so that he could hopefully get elected president because it would have been negative. I don't care about that. I care about the fact that Donald Trump was wrongfully prosecuted. We saw all of this stuff with Fulton County, and they like, oh, this is an insurrection.
then the Mar-a-Lago raid.
Yeah. How come no one's been charged with insurrection? Right? Yeah, you're not doing that stuff because insurrection is punishable by death, right? Treason. Anyway, so we saw lawfare under the Biden administration. What Donald Trump is doing is trying to right a wrong. Now, you and I have some frustrations about that. We'd like it to be a little different. We'd like it to be a little stronger.
A lot
We'd like
different, yeah.
We want some perp walks and all of that stuff. But I believe that he's on the side of righteousness.
So that's got to be one of the number one stories for the year. The guy actually gets back in there after he's shot, in the ear and everything that, goes along with that. And I would say the fact that he look, I mean, this is why there's so much infighting right now on the right. Understandably so. It's a reasonable position to take that things don't seem right and things are moving in the wrong direction with a lot of metrics. And I think it's because it's like this guy survived an assassination that was at a very, very, in my opinion, a bare minimum. There was a stand-down order given to the Secret Service. I think it's a lot more complicated, but it was another example where the FBI, Secret Service, they seem to exist to cover up crimes and not actually solve them.
If we can ever have a slow news day, Paul, I'd love to go through what happened in Butler, but
Yeah,
we just unfortunately we've been inundated with more and more.
You get to that point, and then he wins, and you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right. If some guy, if a guy who's now supposedly in charge of the entire country, supposedly in charge now the leader of the free world,
Yeah.
survived assassination.
Twice.
Twice. And that other guy was tied to the Ukraine situation. And now he got elected. And he's going to go in there and he's going to slice. And he's going to, this is what all of his supporters assumed, right? I mean, This is what I assumed. This is what most of his supporters assumed. It's like, okay,
gonna take a hammer.
Like, thank goodness he survived and won, because now he's going to be the retribution president.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of brings us to story number 2, which I think has to be Elon Musk. I think Elon Musk, this for 2025, is the kind of the second most important story, specifically surrounding Doge.
Yeah.
And everything that happened with that. And
Well,
how
going back to 2024, I mean, he was integral in getting Donald Trump elected because of, the purchasing X. And then what did we see in 2024 where you could actually whoa, wait a minute. I'm not on an island by myself as a conservative. I'm not going to get canceled for saying the quiet part out loud here, like what we are all really thinking, but nobody wants to say it because we don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're able to say that on X, and had Elon Musk not purchased it, and then he goes out in 2024 and he spends a lot of money, a lot of his own money to try to get Donald Trump elected. So it was setting up for this nice, triumphant chariot ride into the arena, and unfortunately, we had 2 power brokers, and it went a little south.
Yeah, and that's just kind of to rehash this, kind of look at this real quick. When was this tweet? This was back in March of this year to highlight this story. Here is Elon Musk in a cabinet meeting wearing a hat that says Trump was right about everything, and this is what he said.
They were handing out loans, $330 million worth of loans to people under the age of 11. I think the youngest, Kelly, was a 9-month-old who got a $100,000 loan. That's a very precocious baby we're talking about here.
So he's talking about SBA loans going to 11-year-olds.
So much fraud.
So, and this was just one of many hits. And we talked about this yesterday. It just kept on coming.
Yeah.
This guy was exposing so much corruption in Washington, D.C., and this guy was targeted by the media, targeted by, I think, people even around Trump that didn't like him, and he was shown the door. That is a huge data point in 2025 political stories, in my opinion. Trump coming into office, Doge taking place, huge. I mean, I couldn't believe some of the stuff he was revealing. And what do we think? Okay, this is part of it. The retribution is coming, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, and Elon Musk's big, complaint with it is that the big beautiful bill, the landmark, signature legislation that happened in Trump's first year could have fixed this, and it didn't. Now, it corrected some of the things, and if you believe Mike Johnson that there was, that's phase 1 of 3 phases or whatever, but none of us believe that that's anything more than politicians speak. Like, you just wait till you see what happens. It's the same crap that we hear about when we see this stuff on X, and then they're like, oh, we're aware of this, and we're going to open a Senate judiciary hearing about this stuff, and we're going to be, whatever.
And we're going to fundraise off the sound bites from the hearing that we put in emails to.
Correct. But nothing's going to happen. We're going to have a hearing on this, but nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
And Elon Musk was what I consider, what many people consider to be uncorruptible in that, or incorruptible. Is that what it is? Incorruptible. Whatever. In that,
he's the richest man in the world.
What do you have to offer him? Right? Like, what do you have to offer the richest man in the world? Now, somebody would say, well, government contracts because of SpaceX and all of this stuff. But regardless, SpaceX is going to be fine. Tesla is going to be fine. All of these things are going to be fine without Elon Musk participating so much in the political process. But he's there. You've got this greatest gift of Trump is back in office. Here comes our hammer. The richest man in the world, finding all of this fraud.
Yeah, I remember and everyone always kind of tries to compare. I don't trust Musk absolutely or anything else. I think, I'm skeptical of Neuralink and everything.
Sure.
But I see the thing as a coalition. But all of the comparisons back in the day to, this is kind of the real life version of Tony Stark coming into the government and actually being able to, make these reforms, expose how corrupt everything is.
Yeah.
To your point about being incorruptible, like that's what he represented. and then they ran him out of town. And so that is a huge data point. That's a huge part of 2025, in my opinion.
And he went scorched earth.
He did, and then he accused Trump of being in the Epstein files, which has got to kind of be the next data point. And I'm not trying to be negative, because
it is. Well, what it is.
Before we get to Epstein, let's get to big balls.
Okay.
All right. So one of the positive things, and this is a positive, okay? Sure. So if Eric Haynes, if you're watching or you're listening, we're trying to, you're not here to pull us back, to make us black pill bulimics. We take the black pill, we vomit it back.
Yep.
Big balls getting assaulted essentially saved Washington, D.C.'s, how many people would be dead right now in Washington, D.C. had big balls not defended that girl and taken a beating.
It was the catalyst to send the National Guard in there. It started all of it. How many people would not be alive in Memphis, right? We saw that.
How many kids have been rescued because of big balls taking a beating?
Because of big balls taking a beating.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, I've gotten over the nickname, and I'm the prudish one.
I'm just feeling immature right now. Like big balls taking a beating.
Nobody had big balls on their bingo card in 2025. Nobody had that.
But what an alpha. Dude is like finding fraud and then fights against 12 people trying to, assault his girlfriend, and he's just, or his date or whatever she is, and he's just like, boom, and he thwarted the attack.
Yeah, listen to Trump.
Are you considering taking over the D.C. police? Is that an option on the table?
We're considering it, yeah, because the crime is ridiculous. I could show you a chart comparing D.C. to other locations, and you're not going to want to see what it looks like. It was just up on television, actually. They were showing it. Now, we want to have a great, safe capital, and we're going to have it. And that includes cleanliness, and it includes other things. We have a capital that's very unsafe. We just almost lost a young man, beautiful, handsome guy that got the hell knocked out of him the night before last. And I'm going to call him now. We wanted to give him a little recovery time. We just put a call into him. They're calling back in a little while. But he went through a bad situation, to put it mildly, and there's too much of it. We're going to do something about it.
So Trump did do something about it, and to your point, it not only led to securing D.C. but Memphis, which is 50 miles from where we're at right now, essentially.
Right.
Very dangerous city, and then we've heard the testimony from Eric Haynes sitting down in Starbucks in Memphis, talking to these first responders, or talking to these ICE agents that are there, and they're saving children, like literally finding missing kids left and right, and. That is definitely a positive that you have to take away from 2025 is, I think there should be more National Guard sent to different places, and you've got the Supreme Court overruling Trump, basically saying, look, you can't send the National Guard, where you want unless you declare an insurrection. If we want to do anything right in 2026, you've got to secure elections. I think he's got to declare an insurrection in a lot of these places, and right now, Republicans have a 25% chance of keeping the House. So what do you have to lose?
No, I mean you just go. You do the right thing.
Yeah, you just do the right thing.
You just assume. Right. You just assume that the liberal media, for whatever weight that they still have, is going to be working against you. And you say, all right, what can we do? Number one, I just really, really struggle to believe that Republicans would lose as many elections if you could have strong election security. When you've got the state of California that says you don't have to have an ID to vote, you don't have to be a citizen, because they're not saying that, but you really don't, because you don't have to prove who you are. You can just go in there and you can vote. And if you're naive if you don't believe that that's happening, folks. So the state of California, they go in there and they take over in the House, because they fraudulently win these House seats. When by all accounts, I've seen stuff that is as high as there's 40% Republicans in the state of California. Not in these high urban areas like Los Angeles and San Francisco. Excuse me. But I'm telling you, there's so much fraud that's happening in these blue states that if there's not some sort of national bill that says you can do whatever you want in your local elections, but if you are choosing representatives that have an effect on our national government, you've got to follow these guidelines. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand how we don't have that already. I don't know why that there's not some sort of
because we don't have that already because the Democrat Party that's literally over in our lifetime, Rob. That's how they've gotten power. I'm totally convinced of it. That's
Paul,
just their currency.
Paul, there are plenty of lunatic liberals out there. There are plenty of centrist Democrats out there. I get it. I don't think they outnumber centrics and even lunatic on the right, like the far right.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we got our crazies on our side too, Paul.
Yep.
They're there. The white supremacist and all of this stuff, they're there, man. But they're a very, very, very small minority. And it's like, man, these lunatic lefties, what's this, Now This Impact or whatever, it's a Now This. It's like a news article, and it's so left. Mm-hmm. It's so left. And you read on they're ripping on Republicans, and you read in the comments, and you're like, yeah, it's obvious that MAGA is, out in full force and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I think you're just in an echo chamber and you're used to only hearing your side. Going over to Blue Sky. When you go to X, you can't handle it. You're sitting there on X, and we're like, oh, this is hatred, this is bigotry. No, they just have a different opinion as you, because your opinion is crazy. But anyway, if we don't seize election integrity, and I'm convinced that if a Republican votes against an election integrity bill, they are paid off, because any Republican who has half a brain would know that the left cheat. They cheat to win elections. We've seen it multiple times, okay? If we have same day paper ballots, must present an ID, all of these things will benefit Republicans. So if a Republican votes against it, they're paid off.
That's a great point. So I would say the securing of our cities, we need to secure more of them, obviously, but some of our cities has been a good thing. And then the other story, the data point that I think stands out would have to be the deportations that have taken place in the border. I say border security /
border security.
Not enough deportations, in my opinion. Not enough, but
at least you stop the flow.
Allegedly, part of the big beautiful bill was getting massive amounts of funding for more deportations and border.
We're going to see that in 2026.
Allegedly. I would say that definitely Donald Trump. The Trump administration has secured the southern border for the most part. I mean, as far as I can tell, all the statistics are bearing that out. Really, wherever you get your news, that's kind of what they're saying. So,
well, it's undeniable. They say he's done it inhumanely. If you're a lefty, you're saying that he's.
How do you humanely? I mean, that's an interesting thing. We're talking about kicking people out of our country, or or basically some form of militarization of the border. It's not as militarized as I would like. I mean, if it were up to me, I'd put landmines down there.
Sure.
But I mean, how humanely? I mean, come on.
You need to have everyone, because he did it all with the executive order, right? There was no legislation passed to be. I know there was some stuff in the big beautiful bill, but it didn't take effect. He had plugged the hole, essentially with executive order, because he said he could do it. So I think you take every one of those executive orders and you start codifying them. And I know that they did some in the big beautiful bill, but if you don't codify all of those executive orders, what's going to happen? Paul.
They've passed the least amount of bills in any Republican-led Congress ever.
Yeah.
In a president's first year.
Now, they would argue that there was so much in the big beautiful bill that it overshadows the number. And I'm like, yeah, but you could have done more.
Yeah.
You had so many things to correct. I get it that Mike Johnson has a slim majority and he's got to work through all that stuff. I get it. Thune, a 3-vote majority, and you got two.
All of the spend. This gets back to
in
the
my
Musk.
opinion,
this,
Democrats.
This gets back to the Musk issue. All of the spending that was, he handed
Yeah.
them all of it on a silver platter. They refused to get rid of it, and you could make the argument, like you said, they couldn't get rid of it because they'd lose the votes. They wouldn't be able to pass
They
it.
know. They know. They're on the receiving end of that money.
Yep.
To their donations and all of that stuff. And then also they've got these special interests blowing up their phones saying, don't do this. It's going to hurt my industry and all of that. And then very, very distant, way down there, item number 94 that I care about on my list is what do my voters want in my district? What do my voters want? And I don't think that a member of the House or the Senate has thought too much about what their voters want in a long time.
I think you're right. Just real quick, I know I keep coming back to this Musk thing, but I really it's just been impressed on me for a while. So this was Musk back in March 26. There are examples of medical fraud that the Doge team will fix, and it's a Wall Street Journal article that says health insurers got double paid by the Medicaid system for the coverage of hundreds of thousands of patients across the country, costing taxpayers billions of dollars. I just think this was in March.
Yeah.
And now we look at what's going on with the Somali situation in Minnesota, what's going on with the Somali situation in Ohio. This is happening all over the country, and not just with Somalis, but I think with probably every ethnic enclave that's kind of been set up, or maybe in Texas and in other places. Yeah. And it's just so frustrating that, and maybe it will get fixed, but I'm not going to hold my breath. It's just so frustrating. But then you look at what Musk said here on December 27th. I will say that the Somali fraud story has got to be a story of the year. It's got to be, and I know it happened right at the last minute, but it really ties the entire. It just exposes how much work there is to be done here domestically while we worry about all these foreign conflicts. Yes, we found hundreds of fraud schemes. This is one of many. There was massive fraud in every government program, especially federal funds sent as block grants to the states. And then Cernovich saying Republicans get rich off of it too. It's where their Nepo babies go, to the law firms filing paperwork and the NGOs themselves. That's why they ran you out.
Yep. You're naive.
Elon Musk.
You're naive if you don't believe that.
That is 100% true. That's why they ran him out, because the GOP is benefiting in ways that just haven't been exposed yet.
Yeah. And people are in Trump's ear, and they're saying, oh, this and that and this and that, and just really throwing Elon Musk under the bus. But I'm thinking Elon Musk knows where the bodies are buried. He saw it. Him and the Doge team, which was only, 12 people? Mm-hmm. It wasn't like it was just huge government organization. It was 12 dudes. I don't know if there may have been some females, but there's 12 people sitting in a room just looking for fraud, and they found it. Billions of it. And what did we get out of it? We lost USAID. We lost USAID, right? Like, they got rid of it. But other than that, I mean, was that the only organization that there was that much fraud?
Yeah,
No.
They did some good things, with getting rid of DEI in the military, getting rid of DEI at the CIA. I learned about that last night.
Yeah.
But just to reiterate, this is how the Democrats reacted to Elon Musk back on February 10th of this year.
Complete
February 10th.
morons.
They've loved their country. They've highly favored their faith. They believed in an America that was for all people. They get up every morning. They put on their clothes and they come to buildings like this all over the country to do a simple, nonpartisan job, and that is to serve the people of America with the best service they can provide.
They're nonpartisan? Okay. I didn't know that.
Yes, they work hard. Yes, they play by the rules. Yes, they love their country. Yes, they cherish their faith. And yes, they want a fair shot. What we're seeing coming out of Washington is anything but that. Every time you hear Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, you just remember it is the Department of Government Evil. Over.
Yes.
The Department of Government evil. But this was the trajectory. Going back to February, this was the trajectory. The Democrats were having meltdowns over federal workers and leaving or getting fired or whatever. And this was the reaction. And it was like full steam ahead. And then people were set against Musk to divide him and keep him from actually doing any of this.
Have you heard of any government agencies just extremely like things have gone off the rails because, they went in and got rid of 1,500 people that were working there? And you're like,
we really haven't heard of that,
Yeah. Yeah. When you've got people that were doing remote work that's not been in the office for years and they're sitting there like, oh, I did this and this and this. I'm like, no, you answered 3 emails and you're making $72,000 a year. Right? You're not working, and we know that you're not working because Doge got rid of you, and the government agency still kept going.
Yep.
Right? So we know that that's the case. Elon Musk was a rare opportunity, and we ruined it, in my opinion. We ruined it. I'm not trying to say he's the savior of all things, but I'm just trying to tell you that his motivation to cut the fraud was because he is the largest single taxpayer in America.
Yeah, and it was so great as somebody like who's been on the right in the media for 15 years, on radio, always talking about how corrupt the government is, and always talking about how the government is inefficient and in so many different ways. And you'd always have the people like, well, but we've got to have this for the kids or whatever.
Yeah.
We got to have this for world peace
Bleeding
or whatever.
heart.
And he went in and exposed that everything that you think about Rush Limbaugh, everything that man was saying about the growth and expanse of government and how corrupt it was all true.
Yeah.
And it was so bad that there was no good in it at all because it was so corrupt.
Rotten.
And that's that, and it was just amazing to me. I mean, I'm not surprised by it, and but it's just amazing to me that the truth was exposed, and I think there's a lot more truth that hasn't been exposed that needs to be. And it just proved every one of my worldviews essentially correct. Every one of any time of like your intuition was totally spot on when it comes to just how bad it is and how they don't care about you and I, Rob. Their policies actually are designed to keep us down as Americans and just make them as rich as they possibly can. So
yeah, we're the mindless drones that are
serfs.
Yeah, we're tasked with towing the company line and all of that. Republicans are the only one that step out. We're the only ones that step out of line. There's a few Democrats that'll step out and they're like, wait a minute, this ain't right. And then what are they doing in the next election? They're voting for Republicans. Yeah. But the Democrats are still trying to pull them back in for a minute. And then what do they do? They cancel them. Mm-hmm. They try to cancel them, right? Nicki Minaj, losing all these followers. And then she gets a bunch of other, Republican followers. And she's just like, I believe in conservative values there and I'm a Christian. Oh, you're the devil. You're the evil person, right?
Yeah, I will say this. I'm totally ignorant of the Nicki Minaj thing with AmFest. When I saw her there, I just turned it off. I wasn't even interested. But so you're telling me something I have no idea about.
I know I can't name a single Nicki Minaj song. Like that's not my jam. But I will say that she's a very popular. I know who she is, of course. She's a very popular singer and all of that stuff. And the left they found out that she was conservative and they got pissed off and they they're unfollowing her and all of that stuff. Of course, she's getting a lot more conservative follows. But the bottom line is we are all these mindless drones, these serfs that are charged with going online and with outrage and talking about how this government program is evil or this government program is needed, right? Got to have it because if you don't have it, it's inhumane. Those are the two sides, whatever it is. And the other people are like, I don't think it is, like our side. I don't think it is necessary, and I'm paying for it, so I should have a choice, right? Because I'm paying taxes. The people, you're just heartless and all of that stuff. I'm rambling, but I will say this. I think that there's a strong divide, and Elon Musk who used to be on the left, was a perfect rocket into the middle of this rotten core of fraud that we have in the United States. And it was a wasted opportunity.
Yep. You are right, Rob. We'll see what happens. You know, they claim the Doge is still ongoing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. And then I think this is obviously the number one story of 2025 was the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And here's this is just on. I guess this is a tweet from back on November the 11th. That Charlie Kirk was murdered in public. 1.7 million people in Virginia elected a leftist to a top security position who stated he wants conservative children to be killed. The right responded by bickering, infighting, and e-drama while the left marches on. Yeah, it's an interesting thing because, unfortunately, with the murder, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, I will say I get it. Like, I'm not talking about I don't. When I think of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the first thing that comes to mind is the right is fighting with each other over so many aspects of it. I can't even, obviously, you know, now you've got Candace Owens and Alex Jones going after it, you know, fighting. Then then this also led to, Tucker Carlson and this isn't necessarily over Charlie Kirk, but then it goes, Tucker Carlson, Ben Shapiro split, and then it's just, and then it's so frustrating. And that all I say all that, I mean, I want the truth. I still think the official narrative is very difficult.
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions. I don't buy the official narrative, hook, line, and sinker. But the assassination of Charlie Kirk, that's the number one story of 2025. And I still have a lot of questions. And and if Tyler Robinson's the guy, I want him to get the electric chair swiftly. But
I think that there were a lot of lives changed about it, both positively and negatively. When we saw this hate and vitriolic people, there were doctors that physicians that lost their entire practice because they came on there and just completely celebrated the death of someone who, you can say is controversial, but you're saying that because you were told to say that. You're not saying that because you've ever really watched one of his debates. Now, is he going to give in and go like, well, you've got a great point there. You know what? I'm going to change my mind about that stuff. No, he's an extremely opinionated person. But to that point, on the other end of that line there, which was the people standing at that microphone, very rarely did they ever say, you know what? Yeah, I've completely changed my mind. Sometimes they did, and when they did, it was glorious, right? Because they listened to reason. But most of the time, the left argues with feelings instead of facts. And unfortunately, feelings got Charlie Kirk killed because people felt like he was a danger. People felt like he was a hateful person spreading hate and misogyny and all the buzzwords that they use. They thought that about him because they were told to think that about him rather than watching his clips. Or maybe they watched doctored clips, as we saw all that crap.
A lot of people,
posting
pastors
out
there.
and
woke pastors at the
there's a clip that hey, the Civil Rights Act was a mistake, and then they just leave that clip as it, and you're just like, wait a minute. He said the Civil Rights Act was a mistake in that it was too broadly worded, and its intent was noble and good to provide equal opportunities for African Americans. But what it's being used for now is to put men in women's sports, and these other interpretations of the Civil Rights Act, all in the name of leftism. And that's what his point was, and he's 100% right about it. But yet, we're going to see that clip that says this Civil Rights Act was a mistake. And he's talking about, if there's a black female pilot, I question her credentials. That's the only clip. And you're like, wait a minute. The reason is because you had a quota of people you wanted to hire. So did you hire the best person, Or did you hire based off of the quota?
Right.
And all he's trying to say is that pilot might be the best person.
Yeah,
that may be the best person.
And just in terms of Charlie, I mean, I was critical of Charlie at times. I can't even remember over what at this point, but I appreciated him more after you go back and you listen to how many times he told people about the gospel and Jesus.
His faith was
and
the most
talking
important thing to him.
Yeah, and so that's a huge deal that he was taken like he was so publicly. But I'm sorry, I still have a lot of questions. I wish the FBI would be more forthcoming. I know they're worried about tainted jury pools or whatever, but there's just so many things that still, to me, don't add up. I don't understand. My number, I've talked to a guy that says that it could have been a 30-06 with no exit wound, which is I'm skeptical of because I've shot deer many times with a similar caliber rifle.
Very powerful rifle.
But I did talk to somebody I have spoken with somebody who would know about bullets and how things can happen strangely. He says, well, it's a slim possibility, but there's
bounce around in there.
And it depends on what type of what was the bullet made of that would actually was used and that sort of thing. And so but my biggest question, putting all that aside, my biggest question is I do not, the biggest red flag out of the whole situation to me is the crime scene getting a total renovation right after this thing happened.
Yeah.
That, to me, is the number one red flag.
It's sickening.
That just signals that they're, that place should have been a no-go zone for months or at least weeks. Security tape should have been everywhere. There should be lasers on the buildings where you are gathering evidence, trying to find line of sight. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what I would do. I'm not even a police officer, but if I was suddenly put in charge of we got to figure out who did this, it'd be all right, everybody stop.
Yeah.
I've
seen CSI.
Secure the perimeter. And then you go at days later, they're paving over everything with paving stones. Yeah. I'm sorry, that is not normal. And I think that's more on Utah than anybody. The FBI could have done something presumably and stepped in and said, don't do anything, but this is being handled in state court. And so it's little things like that have happened really all throughout the year that just make it very difficult to trust the government, which I don't think any of us should trust the government. At this point, it is the most reasonable thing to do to be as skeptical. Yeah. And it's you're going to have to convince me, and I'm going to keep asking questions until you do. And we just don't have enough answers. We just still don't have enough answers about the whole situation. Is my opinion. But
we're considered conspiracy theorists, Paul. That's what they say. We're conspiracy theorists, but just
and I'm not saying that it's not Kyler Robinson, by the way. I'm not saying that either.
Sure.
I'm just saying I got to have way more evidence. I mean, look, we have spent my entire life being told how there was a cover-up with JFK, and 50 years later, we still don't really have all the documents.
Yeah.
And so we've actually, if you've been awake and a live alert, awake and enthusiastic your whole life about this stuff, then you can't just take this a high profile assassination at face value. You have to wait, and you have to wait and see.
Paul, we've seen countless examples in real life. If you've ever watched Forensic Files, it's it's real life murders that are solved with forensics, and there have been, I've watched, they go back to the 90s, and they're great shows. And, great in the fact that it's interesting to me, not great in that it starts with a murder.
Right.
But anyway, there's something that almost always happens in that. And that is the investigators went back. They decided to go back to the scene for another look.
Yes.
You know, for the third time, for the fourth time, when they looked at the file for the fifth time, and they said, I just saw something I didn't see before. Mm-hmm. Which is why, if you are the government there, how could you let that college, was it Utah Valley?
Yeah, Utah Valley State University.
Well, why would you let them do that? Why would you let them destroy that crime scene? And you just say, well, it's cut and dry. We caught this guy. I don't know that it's cut and dry, because I saw a video of the guy jumping down from the building, and he didn't have a gun with him. And then the The rifle was found in the woods, which means that he would have had to come down off of that building with the rifle somewhere where we couldn't see it and then hide it out there. I don't know.
And now I'm even told that they're now saying that they initially said he disassembled it and then reassembled it, and so he never disassembled it or something.
Paul,
I look, it's
how effing stupid do you think people are that the dude took the second to disassemble a rifle, jumps off of a building, and then reassembled the rifle?
Yeah. Well, that was the original.
When you're trying to get out of there.
That was, I think, the original statement.
Yeah, and I don't know that that's backed up with what their current narrative is.
I don't know, man.
But I can tell you this: we saw the worst in people over that situation. We saw people come out and celebrate the death of a man who is godly, who had a different opinion than them, and they celebrated it. And these people were exposed. They lost a lot of things, and you thought, well, if your heart is that vile, people need to know it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But we saw also a lot of good come out of that. As weird and morbid as that is to say, we saw people who said, I haven't been to church in 30 years, and I'm going to go back to church. And so we did see that. But unfortunately, we're also left with these questions that we have where we don't believe Butler. We don't believe what happened with Charlie Kirk. We don't believe the narratives that you're trying to throw at us. And what's the expression? Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining, because that's how I feel right now, and I know that's how you feel too. And we're not alone in the conservative movement.
No, absolutely not. We're not. I mean, we just got to, keep asking questions, and who knows? Maybe there's some ironclad explanation out there from the government and everything else. And I say all this also just so the audience knows. I'm aware of some of the claims that other people are making. I've watched what Candace Owens has said, and I'm watching what things are what things are going on right now.
Yeah.
And to me, it's getting. I ask all the questions you want, but it's getting to the point now where there are so many different theories outside of the ones that I just raised here.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm having,
right.
And maybe that's just me being a really stupid, dumb journalist. I'm having a really hard time keeping up with it all, and it's making me not care.
Mm-hmm.
It's making me want to throw up my hands, and that's not to say that you quit asking questions or whatever. I know, I've been listening to what Alex Jones, the criticism he has towards Candace now, and then the back and forth. And there was this huge Twitter space last night where Harrison Smith got on there, and that was good. But I'm to the point now where the infighting as a result of all of this, and I know we want to get to the truth, and that's good, but the infighting as a result of all this is just incredibly frustrating. Yeah. I'll just be honest. I'm just personally saying it's really frustrating, and it's almost making me not care as much because I don't know what to believe. So
I agree with you. I think it sets in. I can't recall right now what the word is for just not caring about anything. But I know we're running against time. Apathy. Thank you. Let's end on this positive.
This was an interesting. We've got. My goodness. We only have like a couple of seconds left. And it is Charlie Kirk. This was another big story of the year, which was the 12-day war, which was very controversial. Matter of fact, Charlie Kirk was not a fan of it. Was saying, hey, we don't want another forever war in Iran.
Right.
We did not get a forever war in Iran, like many people said. Like I said, we would. I said that we were headed that way. Who's to say? Trump met with Netanyahu the other day and intuited that we might go attack him again.
Well,
so
for now,
there was peace.
The Middle East, which was good.
Is there peace? I don't know.
Well,
who knows? But
if you believe all the accounts, there's peace, and if you believe all the accounts as well, countless lives saved.
Yeah.
So
Those are our top stories of 2025. Rob, Happy New Year to you, sir.
Happy New Year. Glad
Really
to be a part of the
appreciate
show. Looking forward to a great 2026.
Yes, I am as well. Folks, that's the last show of the year. Just like, share, subscribe to this video. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Red Vive Health, New Horizon Real Estate, Gateway Sight and Sound, T-Guard Bail Bonds, and Sherrod Chiropractic. Be safe out there. Have a safe and happy New Year.
The Paul Harrell Program.